Even this early in the heavyweight season, it's beginning to look like a two-horse race for the title between Anwar Barul Smith as favourite and championship leader and Russell Endine just 9 points back. Paul Crawford is 70 points off the lead. He and the chasing pack have a Herculean task to run that lead down, given the form that Anwar is in. And if there's a silver lining to a smaller entry, then it's a lack of B-finals, allowing this Ellough programme to be all killer and no filler. And once again, it's Anwar Barul Smith on pole position. The form that brought 2 trophies at Rye House has continued into Ellough Park for Sam Fisher. He may have missed round 1, but Stephen Crutchley is looking increasingly at home in heavyweights. He starts on row 2, with Rob Nash looking for his first podium of the season. Peter Mills has onboard footage on row 3 with Russell Endine outside. Paul Crawford and Steve Billett as leading super heavy will also be providing footage from row 4. Josh O'Hagan has an onboard camera on row 5. Peter Jankowski rounds out the top 10 of a 28-car grid. It's a steady and even pace, and Anwar Barul Smith leads over the start-finish line and into turn 1, and Crutchley's got down the inside of Sam Fisher. Rob Nash trying to come through to 3rd place in a drag race to turn 2. We ride on board with Steve Billett. That's Peter Mills ahead of us on the bumper of Russell Endine round the outside of turn 3's brave. Oh, and he's caught the inside tyre bundle and he's got through somehow. On board with Peter Mills, on board footage here, trying to run round the outside of Paul Crawford. He'll have to lift into turn 6. Barul Smith leads. Russell Endine trying to find a way back past Steve Billett. Not sure I'd have given it up, and Peter Mills, cheeky so-and-so, dives through and takes advantage, picking up spots he lost himself. End of lap 1, and it's Anwar Barul Smith leading by 0.2 of a second ahead of Stephen Crutchley. Under pressure from Sam Fisher and Rob Nash, it's 4-way at the front, and Billett comes from a long way back on Peter Mills. Can't get it turned and loses the spot on the exit, and Russell Endine's going to do the pair of them into turn 2. Mills runs wide and Billett comes back through to 6th place and into turn 4, and it's just as frantic further back. Lenny Wood here trying to hold off Stuart Osborne. Paul Williams, I think that's Shane O'Neill in the mix as well, and more track furniture gets rearranged. William Munro sideways coming into turn 6 there. Stuart Osborne is ahead of Lenny Wood. The field coming through, and we're on board with Josh O'Hagan. Plenty of cameras in heavyweights this week. Oh, more heavy contact, and his exhaust has been deranged by Russell Endine, and that's bad for Russell Endine's championship and worse for O'Hagan's race finish. There'll be a mechanical board out shortly. I can't hear it, so the exhaust is still attached, but not properly. Bouncing around there on the exit of turn 1. Ben Shaw trying to find a way past William Munro, sideways out of turn 3. Well, unfortunately, it looks great, but it's not quick because the karts don't have the power to make power sliding a fast way to go round a corner. So, Stephen Crutchley looking for the lead. Anwar Barul Smith has got his hands full in this first final. Crutchley to the inside into turn 10, and he's getting it done. Can he make it? No, he can't. And this will be a chance for Sam Fisher to run round the outside of the last bend. Can he go through to 2nd place? Now he's got to go the long way around turn 1, and that's not going to work. But then again, Crutchley goes a long way in. He's slow off the corner, and Rob Nash has got to run on Fisher, who's going to have to yield on the exit of turn 3. Yes, he has. Fisher finds himself down in 4th place and just ahead of Paul Crawford. Munro comes out sideways out of turn 3 and loses out to Stuart Osborne. Is the undercut on the exit? I think it might be, you know. Nash holding off Sam Fisher and Paul Crawford. Looks a little bit slow in turn 7 and 8. Crawford took a look over his shoulder because he was worried about somebody behind, but there's nobody there. This is a 14-lap final, and we're about to start lap 5. Barul Smith's lead is now 0.87 of a second ahead of Stephen Crutchley. Rob Nash 1.1 seconds off the lead. Paul Williams trying to find a way past Ben Shaw. The look from Ben Shaw looked as though he was giving up the corner. Indeed he has. He's going to try and get it back on the exit on the run to turn 2. But Williams hangs on to 11th place. Osborne remains under pressure from William Munro. Anwar Burrell Smith leading out Stephen Crutchley, Rob Nash, Sam Fisher and Paul Crawford. Gap then to Billet, Mills, gap to Jankowski and Oliver Hall. Paul Williams comes through in 11th place, ahead of Ben Shaw, Stuart Osborne, William Munro, Lenny Wood and Shane O'Neill. Shaw goes to cover off Osborne down into turn 9. Keeps the spot, rides the curb, loses a little bit of momentum doing it. And now he's got Stuart Osborne and William Munro hard on his bumper. Coming over start-finish. Lenny Wood trying to get a run on Munro. Oliver Hall trying to get a run on Jankowski. He's got the high ground into turn 2. Over the curb and the move is done. So Oliver Hall moves up to 8th. Lenny Wood down the inside of William Munro. And Munro is now down in 15th place. Flat to the throttle stop on the exit of turn 4. Flat through 5. As flat as you dare through 6. That used to be a hairpin. It's now a flat out right-hander. And there's not much runoff down there either. Wood looking to the inside of Ben Shaw. Now, did he wave him through there? His arm was certainly out. I think Ben Shaw might have a problem. Munro and Shane O'Neill have gone through. Dill Davis now. A chance to go through as well. And further forward, Paul Crawford looking to the inside of Sam Fisher for 4th place. It started in turn 1. I think we missed the beginning of it, but it finished in turn 2 and 3. Not sure that Sam Fisher's finished with that position. Paul Crawford just waved him through, so he's not happy about the way he got by. Sam Fisher squeezes him on the run across to 6. That loses a little bit of momentum. Other people might have missed that, but I think that was deliberate. The field streaming through. Quite spaced out now. We're at half distance. Anwar Burrell Smith's lead is down to 0.7 of a second. As Stephen Crutchley was over a 1/10 of a second faster on that last lap. So there's life left in this final up front. And of course there's plenty of action right through the field in Club 100 heavyweights. Sam Fisher under pressure once more from Paul Crawford. Narrow into turn 4. There might have been a light bit of contact there. And if there was, it hasn't done Paul Crawford any favours. So Burrell Smith, Crutchley, Nash, 3 clear at the front. The finishing positions are at this early stage looking fairly settled. They're on much the same pace. And Paul Crawford is trying to find a way past Sam Fisher, to Sam's distraction. Steve Billet in 6th under pressure from Peter Mills. On board with Mills briefly. Well, whatever Ben Shaw's problem was, he seems to have got the better of it now. John Foles trying to find a way past Dill Davis. This is the battle for 16th place. Keith Mizzen in 19th. Darrell Lowe under pressure from Josh Walsh in their fight for 20th. Mills unable to close that last half kart length to get the fight on with Steve Billet. Anwar Burrell Smith through turn 8, heading down into turn 9. Stephen Crutchley now clearing 2nd place of Robert Nash. So Rob's got to concentrate on staying clear of Sam Fisher, who's begun to drop Paul Crawford. Dill Davis was down the inside of William Munro there. That was for about 16th place. Into the final third of this first 14-lap final. The field beginning to string out. Burrell Smith's lead is 1 second ahead of Stephen Crutchley. They're on the same pace, as is Rob Nash, but he's now 2 seconds off the lead. Sam Fisher on that last lap was the fastest man on the circuit. He's pulled a couple of tenths in on Rob Nash. Peter Mills is now finally on the bumper of Stephen Billet. Stephen Billet is the leading super heavyweight, but he's no longer in 6th place. He's down to 7th. Well, but he takes it back on the exit as Mills goes in too deep and too hot into turn 9. But he's in the slipstream once again over start finish. Is he going to throw it up the inside? Look how narrow Steve Billett goes, and he gets run out wide. There was a bit of contact there that I don't think Steve Billett was too pleased with. So into turn 2, and what's that doing for Oliver Hall behind them? He's on the bumper of Peter Mills. It's a three-way dice now we've got for 6th place. Billett ran wide there off turn 4, and that puts Peter Mills right hard on his bumper through turn 5. Peter Jankowski is a long way back, but he'll soon close in if this trio continue to fight as they are doing. Mills made a mistake in turn 7, and that puts Hall on his bumper into 9. Seems to have got it sorted out. Shane O'Neill looking to the inside of Stuart Osborne and goes through. So that's Shane O'Neill moving up into 12th place. I think there's a contact warning board there that went out, or driver's standards for this trio. But Billett continues to lead out Peter Mills in what is the fight for 6th place. Battle for 20th place. It looks as though the Gremlins have returned to Ben Shaw. He's lost ground on the group he was dicing with. Darrell Lowe goes through to 20th. Peter Mills pressing once again on Steve Billett for 6th. On the brakes into turn 7. Fairly even Steven out of that complex, but Mills is down the inside into 9. It's late, there's contact, but that was clean. A clean fair pass by Peter Mills. Anwar starts his penultimate lap. There's nothing between the top 4 in terms of pace, but Barul Smith is 1.6 seconds clear of Stephen Crutchley. Contact Billett on Mills, pushes him out wide. Got to be careful. There's an observer right where that camera is, picking up any penalties. Shane O'Neill trying to hold off Paul Williams. There's contact. Osborne not in a position to take advantage, and Shane O'Neill stays in 11th place ahead of Paul Williams, but Williams gets by in turn 3. Osborne coming through inside of turn 4 on the exit. Turn 5 will confirm the position, and Letty Wood now will be looking for a way past Shane O'Neill in the closing stages. Coming round to start the final lap, Anwar's lead, 1.684 seconds ahead of Stephen Crutchley. That fastest lap is well timed. Pole position for final 2. That fastest lap time will give him. Oliver Hall looking down the inside of Steve Billett for 7th. A lot of contact there. Billett gets away with it, and so does Oliver Hall. And Peter Mills is released into 6th place, where he will finish. Half a lap from the finish now for Barul Smith. Stephen Crutchley is going to take 2nd. Rob Nash under pressure finally from Sam Fisher in the last few corners. The record books will say this is just another win for Anwar Barul Smith, but he does have competition in this class. Into the last corner and out. Sam Fisher's going to have one chance up the inside into turn 10, can't get it done. Anwar Barul Smith wins the first final from Ellough Park from Stephen Crutchley and Rob Nash.
Place on the podium. Congratulations, driver number 12, Robert Nash. Qualified grid number 3 to come through and finish a runner-up. New driver to Club100. I believe this is his first season. It is, isn't it? And he's impressing us already by round number 4. Runner-up in final number 1, driver number 60, Stephen Crutchley. And but to our race winner, qualified pole position, won this one quite comfortably by 1.5 seconds, and the fastest lap of 51.20 to go with it as well. This is the one who's setting the standards in the heavyweight class this year. He's won final number 1 here at Ellough Park. Congratulations, driver 36, Anwar Barul Smith.
Fastest lap times again set the grid for final 2, and its final 1 winner, Anwar Barul Smith, looking to compound Russell Ending's misery and extend his 30-point lead in the championship from pole position. Can Steve Crutchley go one better and take a win from grid 2 this time? Sam Fisher lines up on row 2 with Paul Crawford providing video. Rob Nash, fresh from a Final 1 trophy, and Peter Mills start on row 3. Steve Billett will be running out of mantelpiece for his super heavyweight trophies, and Oliver Hall start on row 4. Josh O'Hagan and Russell Endine will both be looking to salvage something from Ellough Park after poor first finals. On board with chin cam from Paul Crawford over start finish. Burrell Smith's got the whole shot into turn 1, Crutchley into second. Crawford now under pressure from Sam Fisher, side by side off the corner. Steve Billett holding off Rob Nash. I think Nash is going to go round the outside into turn 2, and he's done it. On board briefly with Josh O'Hagan. He's got Russell Endine on his bumper. He's got ahead of Oliver Hall. Lenny Wood has to take to the escape road, gets back on at turn 4 and nearly takes out Russell Endine. And there's more contact with Shane O'Neill, Dill Davis, Paul Williams, John Foles through turn 5. The ripple of contact goes down the field. It includes Keith Mizzen, William Munro and John Foles, and someone's gone round Oliver West and Mark Turners into the tyre barrier. Rounding out lap 1, it's Burrell Smith leading Stephen Crutchley. More contact, Paul Williams, I believe, on John Foles. Down in turn 9, the tail of the field still sorting themselves out into single file as they come over start finish. Lenny Wood looking for a way past Russell Endine. It's not been a good Ellough Park for Russell. Back on board with Crawford in third. And Peter Mills is once again on the bumper of Stephen Billett and is prepared to have a bit of contact with him as well. Flat through 5 together. Gives him room on the exit. Oh, it's a squeeze through 6 with Billett on the brakes into 7, and O'Hagan jumps in and jumps through on Peter Mills, who's into the tyre barrier and puts Oliver Hall on the grass. And Peter Jankowski tries to find a way by and does it fairly sideways. Endine in the mix as well with Lenny Wood and Shane O'Neill. It's been a frantic opening to this second final, and Stephen Crutchley is staying on the bumper of Burrell Smith in the early going. Oh, Billett runs wide out of turn 1 and a chance for O'Hagan into turn 2, and he goes through. Nice move from O'Hagan on the spot and ready to take advantage, and Stephen Crutchley's gone by Anwar Burrell Smith on the exit of turn 4. There was contact that Burrell Smith is not happy about, but Crutchley has not waved him back through, so he's happy to be in the lead. Crawford now on Burrell Smith's bumper. Out of turn 8, down to 9. Crutchley now on the defensive. And a slight change of script here. Usually Burrell Smith drives away. Well, that's not going to happen this time. Josh O'Hagan managing to hold off Steve Billett, but runs very deep on the exit of turn 10. Crutchley on the defensive into turn 1. And we've got a genuine race on here. Crutchley under pressure from Anwar Burrell Smith. Paul Crawford, Sam Fisher and Rob Nash. 5 away at the front, and Billett tries once again on Josh O'Hagan and goes through between 2 and 3. Now will O'Hagan be able to do the undercut? I think Billett tried to stop that one on the apex. O'Hagan's been fooled into thinking that he's made contact there deliberately and has waved him back through. Just my opinion, of course. So it's Crutchley, Anwar Burrell Smith, Crawford, bit of contact there. Just a love tap on the back of Anwar's bumper. Back with chin cam, sweeping through the last bend, into the last corner. Peter Jankowski's trying to find a way past Russell Endine, and around goes Darrell Lowe, I think that is. Yes, it is, and Josh O'Hagan's down the inside of Steve Billett into turn 1, and back through to 6th place. Crawford out of turn 3. Trying to close on Anwar. Oliver Hall's got past Peter Jankowski. And Ben Shaw is under pressure now from behind. Who do we think that is? I think that was Amala Giacomi. Well down again. Ben Shaw will be disappointed to be racing for 23rd. Crutchley on the defensive into the hairpin at turn 9. And I think Burrell Smith wants to be by. Paul Crawford still trying to get on terms with Anwar. Able to follow, but not to attempt to pass at the moment. Got a bit close there in turn 1, sawing at the wheel, letting in Sam Fisher and losing ground on the leading duo. And Anwar begins to press once again on Stephen Crutchley, and there's a problem for Paul Crawford. He's lost fire from his engine. And there's some colourful language there caught on camera. Apologies to the children in the room. But it's Crutchley under pressure from Burrell Smith. Sam Fisher under pressure from Rod Nash. Josh O'Hagan has pulled clear of Stephen Billett. The field streaming through. Lenny Wood under pressure there from, I think that was Shane O'Neill for about 13th, soon to be 12th, as they cross the line. And Paul Crawford is dropped from timing and scoring. Stephen Crutchley's lead is 0.27 of a second, and the advantage he has on Sam Fisher is 1.3 seconds. Rob Nash on the bumper of Fisher. Josh O'Hagan comes through now in 5th place ahead of Stephen Billett, making a mistake on the exit at turn 1 there, and all that hard work in pulling clear of Billett evaporates as Billett is able to close in once again. Peter Mills in 7th, Russell Endine, Oliver Hall, Dill Davis coming through in 10th place. So the race has settled down now, people pressing on. It'll sure to come back alive later in proceedings. Last couple of laps, always a tendency for things to kick off, you know. Stuart Osborne currently running in 17th place, trying to run down William Munro. We're through half distance, and Stephen Crutchley responds with a fastest lap that's a few hundredths of a second faster than Anwar Burrell Smith. Paul Williams under pressure from John Folds for 14th, in close company with William Munro, Stuart Osborne, Josh Walsh. Oliver Newman looking down the inside of Amala Giacomi. Can he get it done? Oh, it's a bit brutal and agricultural. And Ben Shaw's going to do the pair of them into turn 2, and there's more contact. And there's still contact going on with Newman into turn 4, but Ben Shaw's gone through, and he's now up to 20th. Disappointing run for Shaw. Not getting on with Ellough Park. On to lap 9 of 14, Munro down the inside of Williams to pick up 15th. Williams trying to get the position back, side by side, rubbing tyres and going through. He's going to lead over the line. I'm not sure if he'll still have the position into turn 1. Yes, he does. And Osborne and Walsh move in to make it a 4-way dice for what is 15th place. So the leading quartet are catching up on a back marker. This often leads to an opportunity for positions to be gained if you catch them at the wrong time and place. Although to be fair, Ellough Park is not as bad as some circuits. They're running in behind Mark Turner, who correctly and sensibly just gets out of the way into turn 1. It has caused Anwar to lose a little bit of ground on Crutchley, because you never know quite what a back marker's going to do, even though they've waved you through. Okay for Fisher and Nash. So this is playing into the hands of Stephen Crutchley, who pulls out another couple of kart lengths, gives himself breathing room. We're waiting for 5th place. There it is. Josh O'Hagan has pulled clear once again of Stephen Billett, who still has Peter Mills in reasonably close company. Battle on here. Stuart Osborne ahead of William Munro. Coming across the line this time. And Stephen Crutchley's lead is the biggest it's been so far at 0.7 of a second. Burrell Smith is just a couple of tenths clear of Sam Fisher. So it's game on for second. Sweeping through turn 3, 2 and 3. Driven as a double apex, but really as one corner. And it flows so quickly into turn 4 that you've really got to drive all 3 corners as one. Mills has pulled in a kart length or 2 on Billett. Closing through 5. Closer still into 6. And on the brakes, Billett goes in deep. Misses his apex. Now a chance for Mills on the exit. Almost catches Billett too quickly and tells Billett that he's there, who goes narrow into 9, chance into 10. It's game on. Mills goes in, but how deep? He gets it squared off and turned, and Peter Mills moves through to 6th place, moving on to lap 12. Billett takes a look over his shoulder, and he does so correctly because Russell Endine and Oliver Hall are right there. Endine looking at the inside of turn 2 from a ways back. Oh, caught the cone on the inside. Now, if that's been seen, that might be a penalty for Russell Endine, just to pour more misery on his Ellough Park race day, which has been a disappointment in terms of the championship. He holds the spot though, so Steve Billett has fallen a couple of places back. He's now down in 8th place. Mills down the inside of the back marker, Mark Turner. Sort of held up for a corner or so, unavoidable in the 7-8 complex. So Mills comes through with Russell Endine on his bumper. Rob Nash looking to get on that podium. The run down into turn 2 can't get it done. And Stephen Crutchley's run in behind the other back marker. Got to get down the inside into 4. Couldn't afford to follow him for another corner. Anwar Burrell-Smith's going to catch him into turn 5. And he has been caught behind him and through 6. Anwar's losing ground here on Crutchley down into 7. Down the inside, and I don't think Anwar will be too pleased with the performance of Oliver Westing getting out the way. Sam Fisher virtually pushes him out the way. Rob Nash comes through with him, and we're coming round to start the final lap. And Stephen Crutchley's lead is now out to 0.9 of a second. He's heading for victory. I don't think Anwar can do anything about it now. Ahead of Anwar Burrell-Smith, who's got half a second on Sam Fisher. Sam Fisher, though, under pressure from Rob Nash. But Nash has lost a kart length out of turn 1. And this final number 2 from Ellough Park is beginning to look settled. Certainly up front. Can Rob Nash do anything about Sam Fisher? He's followed him virtually throughout this final, which would suggest he can't. But you never know, he might be saving himself for one last banzai move into turn 9 or 10, because that's all that's left. He's lost more ground in turn 7 and 8. And this final is settled now. The top 4 is set. Peter Mills is coming through in 6th place. He's got a 4-kart train in tow behind him, but that looks settled as well. So it's the first win of the season for Stephen Crutchley. He becomes only the 4th driver to finish ahead of Anwar Burrell-Smith this season, as Anwar finishes 2nd to extend his championship lead to 39 points. There's another trophy for Sam Fisher. Paul Crawford consolidates 3rd in the championship. Rob Nash moves into 4th. Stephen Billett, as leading super heavyweight, moves into the top 5 of the overall championship for the first time this season.
Started 3rd on the grid, finished 3rd, driver number 32, Sam Fisher. And 2 familiar faces to call up now. We've just seen them up on the podiums. He started pole position in this race, finishing runner-up in the end. Welcome back to the podium, driver 36, Anwar Burrell-Smith. A 1st and a 2nd for our, I'd say, rookie driver, new driver to the championship this year. So this driver deserves